What's going on, guys? Welcome to Victims and Villains. If you guys are new to this channel, we're a channel that talks about mental health through pop culture, and we introduce you to cool titles along the way. My name's Captain Nostalgia, and this is a little bit of a different video for this channel. Typically, this is the point where I would introduce the movie I'll be talking about today, but for the first time ever, we're going to be talking about a book today. And that is the debut novella of Nathan D. Ludwig. The book is called Love Potion number 666. If you guys are interested in this book, then you guys can pick up a copy in the link below. Down there you'll find links to Amazon, Audible, and also our episode that he did with us on The Thing, talking about the creative process behind the book, and also who Ludwig would actually pick to bring his story to life on the big screen. This is also probably going to be a little bit of a shorter video because book reviews are something that are somewhat newer to me, so probably not going to go into them as deep as I would a movie. But now that the disclaimers are all out of the way, let's jump into the book. So this is a road trip book slash revenge slash 90s high octane book that tells the story of a couple that is essentially on a trip to get revenge. The thing that I like about this book is how simple the narrative is, and it's in that simplicity though that Ludwig is really able to kind of take the audience for a surprise. There's definitely a lot of times in this book where I had an inkling of thoughts that I knew where the narrative was going, and Ludwig found a way to just kind of be like, psych, and kind of just take a lot of twists and turns with this book. I loved the twists and turns that came with this book, and if I had to compare it structurally to any movie, again, I'm a cinema guy. I love the movies. Movies are my wheelhouse. It would definitely be From Dusk Till Dawn, because the way that this story begins is a pretty straightforward narrative, and then by the time you get the halfway point of this book, throw out all of your expectations, because Ludwig just kind of takes you on a freaking joyride and never ever lets up. I feel like while this book definitely is a pretty straightforward action narrative, it does use elements of horror and a little bit of that grindhouse feel to its own unique delight. While on the surface, this one really feels like a pretty straightforward action narrative, there are elements of horror that are placed in here, and what I find really refreshing about this one in particular, is that it's embracing horror that doesn't get a whole lot of love. So there is voodoo elements of horror in this, as well as zombies, and the zombies, from someone who is really burnt out on the genre, are really well placed and actually have a really fun and interesting spin that they're kind of taking on the zombie subgenre. I will say there's not a whole lot of characters to really cling onto in this, and now that Infinity pulls out and I've seen it, I feel like a lot of how the characters are in that movie, this is a good comparison of how to expect the characters in Love Potion. As far as the writing goes, the writing is really strong. It is one hell of a debut from Ludwig. Not to mention that the character development that's in here, for as grotesque as some of these characters are, this book actually does retain some heart. I was really surprised and really shocked by how the way the ending of this book and how certain characters left the reader. I think overall this is one of the best debut novels I've read in a really long time. And so for that, on our Rorschach rating scale, I'm going to go ahead and give Love Potion number 666 a 4 out of 5. Like I said, this is a really strong debut. It's written really well. The characters are done really well. It's a throw. It's just an absolute bonkers story that, if I keep talking about it, I'm going to end up spoiling it, so please go check it out. Links are going to be in the show notes below. Now it's time to talk about mental health, and if you guys are new to this channel, Mental Health Moment is where we take a theme of mental health, normally out of the film which we're talking about, but in this case, it'll be a book. It will talk about it for a few moments in the hopes to deconstruct the stigma surrounding mental health. I really think, honestly, this one embraces the toxicity of families really well. I'm really hesitant to call Leanna a protagonist, but since we spend the majority of the book with her, for lack of an argument, we're going to call her the protagonist. She's got some mom issues, and I think that the toxicity that exists between mother and daughter in this book is really well captured. It's really well written, and really, as a reader, you understand the ramifications that can happen when a relationship like this exists and festers for many years. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of surprises, particularly about the mother daughter dynamic throughout the course of this, and especially the way that it ends. But I think Ludwig captures perfectly the mental health aspect of what a relationship like this can look like. I feel like I've been talking a lot about the positives and negative effect of family on one's mental health, and this one definitely is embracing the negative. Having a toxic relationship with your parents not only affects who you are as a person and kind of almost crafts your character, but also you kind of see how it also can affect the relationships that you have romantically and also platonically. Ludwig does a great job at really exploring both avenues of that, but it also serves as a warning sign for us. Again, your family is not worth your own mental health. Sometimes it means cutting them out of your life, and sometimes it means just shutting them out for a season, or letting that door kind of close a little bit to where maybe you're not letting them in as much, but really kind of defining the parameters of what that relationship needs to look like. So I want to leave you with this question slash challenge. When was the last time that you have evaluated those relationships? Is it toxic? Is it not toxic? If it's not toxic, what are the ways that you are practical ways that you are taking in order to make that relationship non toxic? Let me know down in the comments below, and down there as well, you guys will also find out resources where you guys can find mental health resources for anyone that is currently struggling with suicide, addiction, self-harm, or depression. So make sure that you guys click those links in the show notes below. Once again, down there you'll also find links to Nathan's episode with us, links to his book, and also as well you guys will find links down there to all of our social media, Patreon, and more. And until next time, remember, have a good night, guys.